Got the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith, the Renaissance man.
Renaissance. What exactly does that mean?
You know what? That's a good question. I think a Renaissance man or a Renaissance woman, right?
Person.
Good call. A Renaissance person is someone who can do a lot of things, right?
I don't know.
I feel like you can do a lot of things.
Well, I think we ought to. We're going to do little Batman and Robin today and have a lot of fun, which I'm looking forward to.
Me too, Keith.
I love our Batman and Robin shows. But I never understood what that term meant, Renaissance man. Now, is it referring to the Renaissance? And we have to bring Judah involved.
I know, we have to get the smartest guy in the room involved. Judah.
Well, that would be the smartest.
That'd be
The smartest animal would be Eliza without
mammal.
A mammal. There you go.
Yeah.
Mammal. Look at this.
We're all mammals, right, Judah?
Yeah.
Everyone in here is a mammal.
Judah does not want to play today. I can clearly say.
Oh, he does want to play.
Google.
Oh, let's get your mic so we can hear you. He looked it up. This is a talented individual, Judah Wickower.
Google.
Have you seen what this guy can do with wood?
No.
He's a
wood
worker extraordinaire. Oh, you're going to tell us, J-Dubs.
A cultured man of the Renaissance who is knowledgeable, educated, or proficient in a wide range of fields.
There you go.
So
I feel like that's you, Keith.
But what's the etymology of it? So I feel like I impressed you with that word.
Yeah, you really impressed me. I did a double take.
Well, the cameras aren't live, so nobody's seen that. But entomology, right? That's the origin of the word.
Is that right, Judah?
Yeah, etymology.
Oh, entomology. Hold it. Entomology is bugs.
Yeah, it has to do with bugs.
So I didn't impress you that much.
You impressed me. Why don't we start the show so we can have this conversation on air?
Is that what we're doing? Are we doing a show?
We are doing a show. Guys, give the show a like and a share wherever you're watching. Welcome to the program, Mark Richards. Welcome to the program, Britta Keller, Joanne Hill, Gifty Morgan, Susan Rice, Ashley McRaven, Jay Warren. We're going to get started here in a matter of moments. It's going to be a phenomenal episode of Real Talk. I can tell right now.
I can't even speak English. I'm using the wrong words. Entomology.
You're super tan.
Yeah, well. Okay. Thank you for noticing.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you tan way differently than I did.
I spent an afternoon on the pickleball courts. The next thing you know, I'm tan.
There you go. Good for you, man. Us Irish folks take a little bit of more time.
You tan.
It's the Italian in me.
Yeah, you definitely tan. I've seen you before tan. All right, guys, we're going to get started. If you have anything you want us to cover, put it in the feed. Batman and Robin are going to do their thing today, and we'll answer questions. So Amanda Molinari has a question.
Sure.
Amanda, we will get to that. Paulina Irvin, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Give it a like and a share anywhere you're watching. We'll get started in a matter of moments. Judah, we can rock and roll, my friend.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, welcome to Real Talk. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on a gorgeous Tuesday morning to be alive. We are live across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seaville Network. We are presented by Yes Realty Partners and powered by Interstate Service Company. Judah Wickower is our director, and my friend, why don't we welcome the star of the show, the distinguished gentleman.
I just realized I don't have one of these little things around my microphone.
Oh, a mic block.
I know. I don't. We have to get one of them.
We need to get you a mic block?
We'll get a Real Talk mic block.
Oh, ooh. That is a good idea. It's actually multi-logoed. See, they got the VMV brand.
Oh, wow, look at that.
So we can get a multi-logo one. Good morning to you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm still trying to figure out the difference between entomology and...
Entomology and etymology.
Etymology. I was close. I had homology at the back end of it.
You're always close.
It's kind of like the lottery ticket numbers. I'm always just one short.
What does close count in?
Oh, horseshoe and hand grenades.
That's my boy.
Horseshoes
and hand grenades. That's my boy.
And I'm here to tell you, in hand grenades, that's bullshit.
Oh, you're saying close does not count?
If you had one thrown at you, you realize what close is.
So what is the range or the radius of a hand grenade?
Oh, God, it's been going back to the early 80s. I can't tell you it.
Okay.
But you'll know when one's around you.
So here's a dumb question then.
Well, how did we get
And then
here?
you brought it up.
Oh,
We'll get
okay.
to real estate here. If a hand
Well, hold it. So now you brought it up. How old are we?
If a hand grenade was tossed on the corner, like in front of the Macklin,
Oh, yeah, no, you'd be fine.
we'd
It's
be
like
fine?
well,
We'd be fine here in the studio?
yeah, sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, sure. It's you'd have enough. It's a fragmentation, so you'd have enough stuff in it. It's 2-3 meters, that kind of thing.
Okay. I did not know that. I learned something today. I hope to learn a lot more, hopefully about real estate.
I don't know. I'm still hung up on this entomology thing. So, what was the origin of the word that we were kicking around?
Well, think about the Renaissance artists.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
so you've got
Leonardo
you
da
got-
Vinci.
Leonardo was a painter and a scientist, philosopher, engineer, and mathematician. Michelangelo was a sculptor, painter, architect, poet.
There you go.
So
Thank you,
you're-
Judah Wickower. That's the
So
voice
you want
of
me to
Judah
like to
Wickower.
paint or something now?
No, I think you can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
How's the market?
Yeah, so great. That's kind of what we wanted to kick the show off a little bit and see if we have any folks have any questions. I think today's just going to be a little bit real estate focused. So we're starting, and I keep a close eye on the numbers, as everybody knows. We're starting to see a bit of an uptick.
That's good.
Correct, on the inventory. And just as of this morning, so we get these market monitors like that we can do for 1 day back. So this morning there was as of 9 o'clock this morning, 14 new homes in our car footprint, Charlottesville Association Realtors footprint. 14 went on the market, 16 went pending. That's awfully close, right? Prior to this, they were really lopsided. It was, single digits coming on the market, double digits going into pending. And, we're going to puzz through a couple of slides that I put together that we're going to drive Judah a bit nuts on it. But it's kind of what we've been talking about on the show is I think you're going to start seeing the second half of 2021's inventory increase, and the experts are talking about this. Maybe this is why Yona and I are taking vacation now. So when we come back, it's all work. But so I'm starting to see that. But it kind of brought up an interesting conversation that I kind of wanted to kick this off with yesterday. I was in our office in Studio X.
Uh-huh.
I was in the kitchen.
There's a shared kitchen.
It's a shared kitchen.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Shared,
I didn't know
kitchen.
that.
Yeah, shared kitchen. And I was, I think I was putting some milk in my coffee, and somebody else was doing the same, or whatever they were doing. And it was a young man, and he goes, "You're in the real estate business." I said, "Yeah." So tell me how the market is, and why should I buy a house?
You get that all the time.
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Every real estate agent that watches this
Gets it all the time.
gets it all the time.
Sure.
And I said, well, you realize buying a house right now is your best bet to hedge against inflation.
It's totally true.
And he didn't understand what I was saying.
Okay. Did you hash
Oh,
it out?
Of course
you did.
I
Yeah,
said,
of course you did.
Here's a table. Sit down. Let's have a cup
How
of
long
coffee.
did the conversation take?
Let's say a half an hour.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more.
My friend likes to talk.
Talk.
He likes to talk. And he also likes to talk about something he knows a lot about, which is real estate. And you especially like to work and pass along the knowledge to the younger buyer, the millennial. And why you do that is because of your daughters.
No, we just love to help people.
Right.
We just love to help.
You love to work with millennials.
I do, because I just love to help people, and they're fun and they're engaging, and maybe I'm thinking I'm an older millennial.
You are an older millennial.
But it's funny, I was just thinking, I like to talk. That doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about.
Stop.
I just-
When it comes to real estate, you do.
Yeah, but I just like to talk. I had a great sit down with, I'll leave his name out of it, with a UVA professor yesterday over at the architecture school. They're starting to bring in a real estate, which is about time, course thing, and he was picking my brain about a few things.
Chris Jensen says hello.
Hey,
What's up,
Chris,
good buddy, Chris Jensen?
Chris Jensen. So, and I was taken back by it and this is a super educated man, holds 2 master's degrees in the technology business, super smart guy. And I said, I said, what? And I was like dumbfounded. I said, so let me get this straight. You don't understand buying now hedges against inflation later.
Well, explain it to him.
And he thought interest rates, mortgage rates, changed by CPI, by the interest rates, by the inflation. And I said, no. So if you're at 3% now, just pick a number, right? You're locked in for 30 years.
Oh, he thought his rate adjusted over the course of the home ownership or the mortgage.
And I said, well, why?
Some do.
Well, those are that's not a 30-year conventional fixed mortgage, right? That's by far
That's a balloon.
He was looking at a balloon
Yeah.
or an arm, but that's not what he was thinking. He was going, well, and then I said, well, I got to understand, why do you think that, right? Why do you think that? He says, well, my rent just went up $200. I went, well, that's the point I'm trying to make. So
$200?
it went up $200.
That's a hell of a jump.
It went $200,
right?
So the point is, now's the time to buy, time to hedge against inflation. And I said to him, I said, look, the struggle is trying to find something, which is, there's a lot of great real estate agents on the show that can help you. Yona and I can surely help you on that kind of stuff. But if you're able to get into something now, even if it's a little bit more expensive than you think you might want to spend on it, but you just locked in that mortgage payment for the next 30 years. You just told me your rent just went up $200. What's going to happen next year?
Probably another $200.
What's going to happen then the year
Probably
after that?
Probably another $200.
Right?
Yeah.
So inflation traditionally impacts rental rates. Traditionally. Unless you're in some special program for mortgage, it never impacts mortgage. And it's funny because I saw a slide that is slide number 1, Judah, from the Urban Institute, and it says young people are interested in purchasing right now more than ever. And I said to him, I said, look, do you realize I'm a boomer? So that you know, I'm a boomer.
I know you are.
I was telling him,
Okay.
I'm a boomer. In case you were wondering, I'm old, right? And he goes, but you realize that you dwarf my buyer pool, right, by many times over. And he didn't realize that. And it was really a 45-minute conversation, right? But it was a great conversation. It was great to help a young man understand that. Now, I don't know where the conversation's going to go, but he was complaining, my rent just went up, and I was like, dude, houses are coming on the market. Find yourself a trusted advisor. Find yourself a real estate agent. We'd love to help you, but if that's not the case, find somebody out there that you can trust, and that's a trusted advisor, and do this because you're going to lock yourself in, and then you're going to be growing your equity over time
Your savings account.
instead of growing mine or yours or Judah's,
Liza's.
Liza's
the dog.
Liza the dog. Liza got some bones today.
That's good advice to him.
Yeah.
Was he receptive to the advice? Did he understand the advice?
Man, he's too intelligent not to understand it, but I saw the glazing.
This is basically what it comes down to for anybody that's watching. Your rent's
listening.
Your rent, or listening. Your rent's going to go up every year. You can lock in your mortgage over 30 years, over 15 years, over 20, right? That's
Yes,
not
sir.
going to move. That's how you hedge against price increase, aka inflation. That's what you're saying.
So, first, slide number 4, if you don't mind, Judah.
Christopher Eagle, hello.
Hey, Christopher, how's it going, brother? After delaying home ownership, so what, and I was trying to explain to us, what we've got going on with the millennials in the current market is that these millennials, or young folks, have been delaying certain big life changes, right, for time. Keith and Yona Smith got married and had children in our early 20s. The trend now is in the early 30s, right? So we've now have this pool of people, and according to NAR, in the second quarter of 2021, there's 32% of the buyers are millennials versus 16 the same quarter last year. That's what's on that particular slide. But so what's happening, and then he was starting to ask me. So did I say ask or axe?
No, you said it Long Island.
I said axe.
Yeah, you said it Brooklyn. Yeah,
axe.
Your New Yorkers would have been proud.
There you go.
Us Charlottesvillians are like, this is a Yankee.
There you go.
But the reality is you've been here since 1987.
Dude, really?
So when you've been here since 87, that's 34 years. You ain't a Yankee anymore.
I can't lose the accent.
Well, I mean, I mean, how many years did you spend in New York?
Only 18.
And then you went immediately into the military,
Went
into the
service,
Marines.
To the service.
How long were you in the Marines?
6 years.
6 years?
Half a decade.
So 24.
Then got out.
And then did you move to...
We was a couple of months in New York before I came down here.
And the story is crazy. Did you see an ad in the newspaper for Lake Monticello?
I did not.
How did you find the lake?
Oh, how did I find
Yeah,
the lake? Oh,
because a
okay.
lot of
I
people
thought you were
found the
talking-
Lake Monticello in an ad in a New York newspaper.
So we're going to pivot a little bit and
Yeah.
talk about that if you'd like. Yeah, that's exactly how I came down. It was a cost control marketing, a group out of Pennsylvania, out of Poconos, Pennsylvania, put options down on a bunch of lots. So just keep in mind, in 1987, there was only about 600 houses out of 4,500 lots.
Uh-huh.
And what they did, and nothing was selling, the market was horrible. And they came in and they said, Jerry, I'll put a $50 option on your lot. If I sell it for $6,000, I'll give you $6,000. Well, what happened was they were selling it to Yankees for 40, I can't even say it because I bought one, for $44,000. That was really $6,000, and we didn't know, right? And it's a long story.
That's like a steal for the Yankees, right?
Well, there was a class action suit against it. And
Oh,
all
there
that stuff.
was?
Oh, yeah. What they were doing was illegal. But in any event, what happened there, and that's how come everybody wonders why does Lake Monticello sound like me? Well, they sound like me is because like 600 people did this. So the lake just doubled in size at that particular time. And we're kind of like, I came here, my father and mother came here.
You brought the whole tribe.
I brought the whole tribe down here, right? You know the joke, what's the difference between a Yankee and a damn Yankee?
Damn Yankees don't leave.
Damn Yankees do not leave.
Isn't that what you are? Is a damn Yankee?
I'm a damn Yankee. I don't leave. So going back to what this young man was trying to ask me, and he was like, why is there no inventory? I said, wow, that's a great question.
Well, we made our bed with the no inventory. You taught me that.
Yeah. Well, but there's other factors tied to it, right? And if Neil is watching, he's spot on. There's slide number 2.
Slide 2.
Slide 2.
U.S. housing construction
That's
slide.
this many, by the way.
Slide 2. Good slide 2.
Right? So between 2010 and 2020, we've only built 6.5 million units. This is nationwide. 2000 to 2009 was 12 million 6. 90 to 99, over 10 million. 80 to 89, roughly 10 million. 70 to 79, 10 million. So make a long story short, the decades of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s to 2009, we were running about 10 million new constructions of units. We're down to 6.
Yep.
And that's really a regulatory thing, in my opinion. Cost of land, it's a regulatory thing. It takes forever to get projects through. So I was trying to explain to this gentleman, not only that, you have millennials coming in at huge numbers. They're coming into this part. So we have less units being produced, putting more pressure on existing stock, right? I'm not a genius. This is pretty simple stuff, right? And then the thing that it blew his mind was people staying there in the houses double the length of period. 2008, 2009, in that area, people were in the house 5, 6 years. Now it's 8 to 10 years. So not only we're producing less units because of, in my opinion, regulatory red tape that needs to be turned into green tape. We've got folks staying in their houses longer, which reduces inventory. And oh, by the way,
We got more buyers than ever.
we got more buyers than ever.
And we got interest rates incentivizing everyone to jump in the pool.
And all that being said,
And on top of that, the COVID.
the COVID did.
Magnified and put tailwinds behind all this.
Well, what it did is it put tailwinds behind the where.
Yeah.
The location. That is substantially changed. But at the end of the day, after saying all that, that's when his eyes started glazing over. Like, he started tearing up. Oh, my God, I'll never own a house. And I went, no. We can navigate this, right? There's skilled folks on here. We can navigate this. And the thing is you're going to have to put a little bit of effort into it. Not a little bit. You got to put a lot of effort into it in today's, as a buyer. But you're going to hedge against inflation. Interest rates are going to go up. I got a slide here somewhere that shows that I can get this somewhere. Come on, you can do it.
Questions coming in.
Good, cool.
Comments
Let's do
coming
them
in.
while I'm trying to struggle with 30,000 pieces of paper.
Well, your colleagues are watching from Carr. That's for
cool.
darn sure. We
There you
love
go.
when you guys watch the agents.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Mustache Dan Pettit's got a question. Mustache Dan Pettit says, "Are you sure your friend was not talking about refinancing later to get a lower rate?"
No, he's renting. A friend, I'm referring the gentleman I was having a cup of coffee with. He's currently renting right now and wants to buy. And his train of thought is if I stay in a rental situation, that I'm betting against inflation in a rental scenario, because he was under the impression that when he just wasn't educated, when he bought a home at a 30-year fixed mortgage, that rate went up as inflation went up, and I kind of cleared him of that. So we were pretty clear, Dan, on what his role was and where he was in his process.
Michelle L. Scheid, she says, "Lots of that slowed due to the inability of developers to get financing." Is that right?
That's 1,000% right. Well done. So what
I
happened?
think that's Michelle's first comment on Real Talk. Michelle, tell us more. You just got a very good, you got some props and praise from Keith Smith with a hell of a comment. That's her first comment on Real Talk, I believe. Michelle, is that your first comment on Real Talk?
That's a genius statement, because that's literally what happened. So in my little vernacular, everybody knows I'm a recovering developer and builder. I'm not quite past first step yet, but that's where I'm at. Prior to that, 2003, 2004, 2005, literally, I would have bankers walk in my office and literally pay me to borrow money from them. I kicked them out because that just didn't sound right.
Yeah.
You know? At some point, I've got to pay you. Literally, they were negative interest rates to developers. 2009, 7, 8, depending on which year you think this started, it literally went like that. And they cut off. There was no development loans available. And she's 100% right, because what happened was that immediately removed all the small to medium guys from the game. And you needed to have a bigger pocket, but she's 100% right. It also mirrored the mortgage industry, right? So the mortgage industry was, if this cup of coffee, as we talk all the time, could have borrowed $500,000, then all of a sudden, if you were the good Lord himself, you couldn't borrow $500,000, right? Now, and that's one of the beautiful things, in my opinion, why we will not see an implosion or a balloon, is because the banks and the regulatories. I'll give you an example. The regulatory folks are really controlling it. I'll give you an example. On the way in, you saw me on the phone. We have a deal closing, and I had an appraiser call me and go, "I need to talk to you about this," because, they wanted to know what our traffic was, how many offers there were, certain very specific information, because he's trying to rationalize. He's trying to get this appraisal box to fit. A year ago, we would have never gotten that phone call.
Jackson Holland from Williamsburg,
We
Virginia here.
We like Williamsburg.
Yeah, he says, how difficult is it for developers to get loans now, Keith? And he also says, put in perspective the big developers versus a small-time developer.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to allude to. So I think right now the faucet's a little bit open as far as small to medium developers go on that end of the stuff. The bigger developers, the larger firms, they have such cash positions.
Yeah, they're sitting on piles of cash.
Yeah, that it's not. It brings up an interesting thing, and I won't divulge sources.
The little guy is not doing his development or her development with piles of cash, though.
It's not. So they got to go there. So I think what the inference is here. See, another big word.
Yeah.
What is that? We got to Batman.
Alfred.
Alfred. Thank you to find inference. Just make sure I'm using it. Right.
Is he using it? I don't know.
Inference. Anyway, I'm going to roll with it.
Roll with it.
So the inference, I think, in the question was.
I think does he mean implying?
No, I think you're about right.
Yeah, inference. Yeah.
Okay.
I may be
inference.
saying it wrong.
No.
Somebody will correct me.
Inference.
But
a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. You used it correctly.
look at that, huh?
Well done, my friend.
Damn, we're done. Can we go home?
Cheers.
Let's get
Costanza.
We're done.
Out on a high note.
I'm out of here. Let's go for lunch. We're done.
Let's go.
But I think the inference here is that the reality of it is what happened in this implosion, it drove out the small guy. The small guy's hard to get, and then the larger developers, the larger landholders kind of retained it. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's kind of like the restaurant business, right? So what has happened is some of the folks that couldn't weather the storm may not be in the marketplace any longer, but the people that had the ability to weather the storm, ability that from a cash position to do that will be around and will come out on the other side, I think, much better.
Because they'll have less competition, potentially more market share, and then a pent-up demand customer base.
That's exactly right.
Why did, and maybe I'm wrong in saying this, did the crash weed out realtors and drop the realtor count?
Oh, I don't know that number. I'm just going to make an assumption that it did.
Okay.
But I think that would be a logical.
Because I've said so many times on this show that one of the most competitive categories of business in this area is real estate. I mean, is it 1,200?
I don't think that's the exact number. I think that's the exact number that's in car, but I think that includes active real estate agents plus, come on, somebody help me out here, associate members, like lenders. You could be a member, right, as an advertisement agency.
The people on the supply chain.
That kind of thing. So I think.
So our presenting sponsor, Interstate Pest and Service Companies, is a member.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So they would be part of that total aggregate number. I think active is, and somebody will correct me, is probably in 800 to 1,000 range. I may be wrong.
Active, 800 to 1,000.
I may be wrong, though. Somebody will correct me on that.
Michelle Scheid says, I worked in real estate, new home construction for a regional developer during the crash. Then went to a national developer, Horton. Have been through the highs and lows in development myself.
Yeah, well, God bless.
Michelle, you made the show better today.
God bless you, Michelle.
Yeah, why do you say God bless you to Michelle?
Because she went through the highs and lows. And
the highs and lows.
And I know what it feels like to go through that.
And you can relate.
I can relate to that. So, I think all to go back to the conversation with the young man, I think I've left an impression on him, maybe not a good one, but I left an impression on him that, this might be something to consider, particularly as we're starting to uptick inventory. I think you're going to start seeing it. But we talked about this yesterday on the show when you called me in, and I'm trying to find a piece of paper.
Our good buddy Neil Williamson watching the show.
Hey, Neil, how's it going, brother?
Neil may know that number.
How many active real estate
Yeah,
agents? He probably does.
How many active realtors, Neil Williamson?
Well, I will tell you that there's one gentleman that does make this show better every day.
Neil Williamson.
It's Neil Williamson.
Yeah, Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum. I sincerely mean this. I think Neil knows I sincerely mean this. I love what he does.
Well, we had a
great
time on Friday.
I'm a huge fan of Neil Williamson. He and Sean Tubbs are doing a Democratic roundtable around the corner. So get ready for that. So Neil, the question we're wondering is how many active realtors are in CAR?
Oh, you say it right.
Well, I mean, we got chastised so many times.
I still get chastised.
Well, I think because we were adding the extra syllable.
Well, I add the extra syllable.
Well, and I started mimicking you. Excuse my language.
Well, it's not supposed to have anything. Who was doing that? Somebody was telling me, can't you say doctor? I said, yeah. Then how come you just can't say realtor? And
Doctor.
I swallow the R. It's just what it is.
You say it. You say it fine.
So interesting. We talked about this on the show yesterday, right? About just to do a little historical comparison about the market. Single family attached and detached, Albemarle and Charlottesville only, no new construction, right? We constantly take that out because that skews the days on market. Year to date this year, so 1/1 to 5/17, which is yesterday, there were 686 sold units, sold and closed. Medium days on market was 6. Medium sales price, 416. So everybody would agree 2005 was the last time it was this high, right? That was just before the 2006-ish or so is when the market started going on the other side of this balloon, or the air was starting to come out of this balloon. So same time period, right? In 2005, same time sold, there was 216. So that's 400. We're 400 plus units. 2005 versus now up. Days on market was 45. So I track days on market. That's kind of my go-to analogy. Some real estate agents, real estate professionals, maybe they'll disagree with me, but I take a close look at what DOMs are, because that kind of tells us where the tracking, or me anyway, where it's going to go. Sales price was 278, by the way. So we're roughly 175-ish, some 150, whatever the math is. Didn't do it.
That's a heck of a delta.
Well,
but then you extrapolate it year over year, and you say that's the.
I haven't done the math on it, but it's
3% increase.
Yeah, so I think it's within the norm. But I just thought that was interesting. Everybody is comparing today to 2005, and today is, way off the charts with all the data. But the key thing I'm hanging my hat on is this DOM. And as we watch these DOMs week over week, right, month over month, I think you're going to start seeing them increase a little bit. But the volume is just nuts. It's 400 more, same period of time, it's 400 more units. That's a lot of homes to change hands this quarter versus quarter. I don't know how, earth-shattering that information is, but I felt it was something that was interesting.
Neil Williamson, as of today, there are around 1,000 active realtor members of the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtor members. Neil put realtors in all caps twice.
He spelled it out. What Neil needs to do is he needs to come over here to show one of these hooked on phonics things and teach me how to say it.
What I enjoy about Neil is he's got a sense of humor. Remember when he was sitting in this chair and he was making music references?
But he laughed so hard he turned red. The other day. That was fun.
So funny. That was a good round table. Oh, this is a good one. Steven's watching this show. Steven Vega. He says, Mr. Smith.
Ooh.
Mr. Smith. You mentioned on a couple weeks ago from a show standpoint.
First of all, thank you for watching.
Yeah, he watches regularly.
Thank you.
He says, when is the Stanley Martin development that you mentioned coming on the market?
Oh, I don't know which one, but if it's the ones that we're in the site plan process, probably another 12 to 24 months. Yeah, there is very little product going. I think the largest project going on would be Brook Hill.
Brook Hill, north of town.
Yeah, it would be Brook Hill.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's just they're in the development stages. They're in producing lots. They're beyond. So in our world, it's called entitlements. Right, so these are site plans, zoning, so forth and so on. In order to get, and so there you get through your entitlements, then you start construction. So some of these other projects I think he's referring to is we're in this entitlement stages process, and that again this red tape, green tape thing. Back in the day when I started this back in the late 80s, early 90s, you could buzz through that stuff in 3, 6, 9 months. Now you're in years, the same 3 years or more, or depending on the jurisdiction, close to 6 years. Again, it's this red tape. And
another good comment from
I'm
Michelle.
trying to, and if Neil is watching,
Neil is watching. Michelle is bringing the fire right now.
Okay, Michelle. All right, Michelle.
No, can you finish your thought?
So I read an article yesterday, and I didn't bring it with me, and Neil can probably pull it up. National Association of Home Builders did an analysis on what the regulatory requirements are on the cost of a home, a new construction home. And I want to say it's in the 80s. I just didn't bring that with me, and I don't want to misquote it. And if Neil does some quick Googling, he could probably find it. And it was interesting. They broke that number down into two halves. And let's just for the sake of this conversation say it's 80. I think it was closer to 90, but let's call it 80 for the moment, just to put a perspective to it. Roughly 40 of that, plus or minus, was on the land acquisition side. And the second part of it is the regulatory requirements on the construction side. So roughly, because of our regulatory environments, they added roughly $80,000 to it. And what the premise of the article was this is not just the cost of lumber, right? So it's interesting. We're going to talk about...
Do you not call that the cost of doing business?
Sure. The problem is you have to pay for it now.
Right. That's the problem.
So
And it's just driving up. Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum, just shared the link. If you guys want to learn something.
so that was, so you found it.
He did. He
Cool.
found it right away.
Thank you,
He
Neil.
says, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the first 3 paragraphs verbatim.
And I'll drink my coffee.
And then we got to get to Michelle's comment.
Okay, Michelle.
So this is from, thank you, Neil, for sharing this link. NAHBNOW.com. NAHBNOW.com. The headline, regulatory costs at a whopping $93,870 to new home prices. I'll give you the first 3 paragraphs and get your take. Regulations imposed by all levels of government account for $93,870 or 23.8% of the current average sales price.
That's nationwide, though.
Nationwide. The current average sales price nationwide is $397,300 of a new single-family home, according to a new study by NAHB. What's NAHB? National Association of Home Builders?
There you go.
Okay. Of the $93,870 figure, $41,330 is attributed to regulation during development, and $52,540 is due to regulation during construction. And then the final paragraph, it's a quote from the NAHB chairman, Chuck Folk. This study illustrates, Keith Smith, I added Keith Smith. This study illustrates.
You really did add that, huh? I'm pretty sure that article didn't have my name in it.
This study illustrates how overregulation is
You're having way too much
exasperating.
fun.
I enjoy this show. You know I do. I love real estate. This study illustrates how overregulation is exasperating the nation's housing affordability crisis,
Yeah.
and that policymakers need to take bold steps to reduce or eliminate unnecessary regulation that will help builders increase the production of quality, affordable housing to meet growing market demand, end quote, said NAHB, National Association of Home Builders Chairman Chuck Folk.
So the key.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil. The key word in that is unnecessary.
Yeah.
And that's where the struggle is. You know, what's necessary, what is unnecessary? Because some of these regulatory requirements are legitimate, right? You know, Clean Water Act, all this is really good stuff, but they seem to have layered on. And what they're not talking about in this article is the cost of time. At least, if I remember.
Opportunity cost.
Correct, time.
Yeah.
So not only do the regulatory, I got the 40 right. I thought the 40 was on the land. I didn't realize we were over 50 on the build side. Then add into this, I had a conversation with a couple of presidents of large builders here last week. They're averaging about around 35 grand a house in just lumber costs at this particular point in time.
35 grand.
In additional costs.
Yeah, uptick.
Uptick.
Yeah, right, uptick.
And it's difficult for them. You know, custom builders, a couple of them that we know and a couple of them that I help, have wrote in what's called escalation clauses into their custom builds. And just to give a high level conversation on that, typically the way they work is
If the cost of goods go up, you're gonna feel the pain. We'll pass it to you.
Typically the builder absorbs some percentage, 3 to 5% of that, and anything beyond that.
Do you think that's the way to do it?
Well, that's the way I did it. I did that for decades.
That's the fairest way, isn't it? A lot of the builders that didn't have the escalation clauses just got stuck holding a bag of no money.
Well, so that's why I wanted to go with that, but I wanted to finish this train of thought, and thanks Neil for that. I was way off. I was in the 80s. It's closer to 100 grand in the low 90s. But just think about that, right? So you're looking at a house on
Anywhere,
new
somewhere,
construction.
say, call Elmore County.
You're looking at a new construction house. You know, $93,000 of that purchase price is not going
To the house.
No, it's not going to the builder.
Yeah, right. Sorry, to the builder.
Right. That's what it's costing. That's the cost to produce that, so you can live in that home. So if you're buying a house for 400 grand,
Guys, did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? If you're doing a custom home from scratch for $400K, 25% of that, roughly, is going to go to regulatory costs.
yeah, we're a little loose on the ratios and stuff like that, and because these are
Every area is different.
they're national numbers. But I suspect if somebody would do the homework, we're not that far off.
I would suspect that the regulatory measures in this area
Well-
are substantial. Now we got to get to Michelle Scheid. She just
Michelle,
did another good comment. She's done
Mich-
3 comments.
Okay, we have to sing. What is it? The Beatles song?
Dude, we may
My
need to, if
mo-
she keeps doing this, we may need to bring her on the show.
Okay, without doubt.
She says, but
She doesn't want me to sing the Beatles song.
she's
by
got
Michelle.
2 comments for you. You can sing if you want. You're the executive producer.
No. Michelle doesn't want that.
She's got a comment on your DOM, and she's got a comment on regulations. Michelle Scheid.
Go.
Okay, she says, but the days on were affected by the point that you made earlier that in 2005 there was a lot more new construction, and new construction doesn't happen overnight, so those homes were on the market for whatever reason. Completing construction, getting through inspections, etc., also with the use of being able to secure lending completely online makes for quicker closings.
So Michelle, not that I want to disagree with.
She says she wants you to serenade, and she's done enough comments that she thinks she's earned it.
Trust me, Michelle does not want me to.
She wants you to serenade.
She does
damn
not want it. She does not want it. Somebody in Facebook will shut us down. So Michelle, I probably didn't do a good job of explaining this, but the numbers that I crunched excluded new construction. So I removed new construction from the DOMs, and I purposely, for that very reason that Michelle outlined, we purposely pull out new construction because they're all over the map. Some of them are 0, some of them are hundreds of days. So I removed that. So we're only looking at existing sales.
Dude,
and
she said, you're right. Regulations imposed by all levels of government account for 24%
Yep.
of the current average sales price per home in Virginia,
Okay.
which was $397,000 a couple months ago.
Got it.
So we're all over this.
Yeah. So thank you, Michelle, for doing that. This was just something that was an article that popped in my head and that I read late last night. And thank you for keeping me straight on my numbers. But the point that we're trying to make is under new construction, what was the number? 20? How much was it? 24%? 24%?
Yeah, 24%.
So let's call it 20% to be conservative. 20% of this new construction home you're buying is going directly towards some regulatory requirement, either on the development side or the build side. Now understand, I'm not saying, I want to be clear, I'm going to say this again, I'm not promoting remove all regulatory requirements. So that number I'm assuming is inclusive of all regulatory requirements. So there has to be some of them. But can we carve 10% of it out? Right? Can we carve out 10% of that? And then some people might say, well, if you carve out 10% of that, the builder's going to keep the price the same and it's going to pocket the other 10%. That may be or that may not be the case. I suspect most of the folks that I know in the trade, they'll lower their price by 10%. Right?
I think that's what they would do.
They would look because
they want more buyers. They want a larger pool.
Well, they're smart because they know lots of people watch Real Talk, and I love Charlottesville Network.
So if you guys learned something from Real Talk, this is a fantastic stat. Regulations imposed by all levels of government accounted for 24% of the current average sales price per home in Virginia.
And what was that?
$397,000.
397. Call it 400 for simple math.
23.8%. She just fact-checked herself. So that number is accurate.
Yeah, no.
23.8% of a value of a home price in Virginia goes to red tape.
So my little Marine Corps simple brain, right? Let's just say 10% of it is legit, and the other 10%, let's say, is over regulatory. That just lowered that $400,000 rounded numbers, that $400,000 house by $40,000. Even if it's only 5%, that lowers that price house by $20,000. That's a lot of money. So now all of a sudden, well, this whole conversation we started about hedging against inflation and all that stuff, that even looks better.
Dude, so here's the beautiful thing of...
Are we like in California?
This is what I get excited about. So Michelle is commenting on... We're live on every social media platform humanly possible. We're live on 15 Facebook pages as we speak. Michelle is on one page dropping knowledge bombs.
And on the other page.
And on the other completely different page, Neil Williamson is responding to Michelle. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to tag you in this response, Michelle. I just tagged you on Facebook to hear what Neil said. Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum, says, Michelle and Keith are both right. Days on market is impacted by having new construction available in the market impacts the market. Smith eliminating the new construction DOM helps, but supply matters.
No, it does, absolutely.
And Williamson, and then Neil closes with the hashtag, more housing everywhere for everyone. I was hoping to see hashtag content slinger, but the advocate Neil Williamson says, get us more housing, darn it.
Well, it's kind of like the conversation I had with a very good friend of mine, Anthony Haro from T-Jack. How do you solve homelessness?
Bring this one up a lot.
Well, it's true. How do you solve homelessness? Put people in homes.
Get them homes.
That's how you solve homelessness.
She says, I think I earned a serenade from Keith.
No, it's not happening.
I'm trying to get it out of you.
Not going to happen. Michelle, love you. Not going to happen.
You got Ness Realty,
I've got
Long and Foster,
I've got
Real Estate
sponsors.
3, and Keller Williams on the show.
I got sponsors.
You
I
do,
got-
you do. But they like when you sing too, my friend.
No, they do not. I get messages. Stop singing.
So let me ask you this. All right, straightforward question. We don't have a ton of new inventory coming on the market,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a ton of new inventory coming on the market.
Okay.
We got boomers moving here,
Oh, yeah.
left and right.
Yeah.
Neil and Keith, you taught me or passed the article along from Realtor Magazine that we're the second most popular moving
2020.
destination
2020.
for empty nesters.
Mm-hmm.
You got folks working from ISPs that have come from big cities and still kept their big city paycheck. You got interest rates at generational, historical, lifetime lows. We'll never see this before. Are we going to be in this rut or in this situation for years to come?
Wow.
The price is just going to go up.
Are you watching the slides?
I learned from you.
Slide number 7.
Slide number 7, Judah.
NAR. They averaged, economists, largest percentage believe the housing inventory will go during the second half of this year. So it's 43%. But if you start taking a look at this slide, they're going to be dropping down to the first half of 2022 at 26%, second half of 2022 at 12%, and then 2023 and beyond, somewhere around 9 or 10%. That was the wrong slide number, Judah. I apologize. My mistake. But that's a good slide
That's
to talk
a great
about.
slide right
That's
there.
a great
I
slide.
love that
Well,
information.
that's coming up to why should I wait?
That's a 10% down payment. That's not even a 20%er.
No.
He's going to put on the slide you want here in a matter
So
of
I
minutes.
apologize, Judah. My mistake. I mislabeled it. There you go, brother. Thank you, sir.
Let's
very
keep
much.
that up for a little while, Jacobs.
So my point is, the inventory is going to keep on growing because we're just not there. But Neil is right. Michelle is right. How? And I guess what you're asking me is, how the hell are we going to get there?
Yeah, what I'm asking is, yes.
It's
How
exactly
are we
what you're
going to
asking.
get there?
How are we going to get there?
Yeah.
How are we going to go from today, right,
To more inventory.
to more inventory,
Yeah.
right?
Because the gap seems to be years.
and
You just told us the only one that's coming really on the market with new inventories is Brook Hill.
Lawrence Yoon, chief economist of NAR.
Mm-hmm.
I won't give you the slide number because it's probably wrong. Sorry, Judah. This is not a bubble. It's simply a lack of supply because that was this young man was saying to me because he doesn't have a historical context from 2005 because that's not where he was in his world.
Sure,
right?
he's probably in college or high school.
Whatever he was
Yeah.
at that particular point in time, that this is not a bubble. I tell you, and I'm going to make a little crystal ball stuff here, which probably might get me into trouble. Mr. Williams might also might not be happy with me at the moment.
Oh, get ready, Neil.
Oh, he might agree, actually.
Get ready, Neil Williamson.
So this is what I'm going to predict is going to happen here.
Okay.
I think you're going to see the construction units decrease even more the second half of this year.
You think new construction is going to decrease even more than we have now?
I believe so.
And you're going to, I'm not jumping to conclusions, that's why I'm asking. The reason you think new construction is going to decrease in the second half of the year is for the following reasons. I learned from you. There are not enough subcontractors out there, so subcontractors now can command a top dollar because there are not a lot of them. That's driving up the cost of production. On top of that, cost of goods, like lumber, is going through the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because of those two reasons, the home builder has a little bit of uncertainty with his or her business model. And with the uncertainty with his or her business model, maybe the home builder, certainly the ones that have a rich cash position, will just pump the brakes a little bit, allow the current builds to finish.
How many years we've been doing this?
Allow the current builds to finish, and then see what happens Q1, Q2 of next year.
What else is that large, cash-rich, larger company going to do? There's an extra component to it that you're missing.
Well, my fear is the cash-rich developer is going to continue to corner the market and push out the mom and pop.
Well, I think that's already happened. That ship has sailed.
Really?
Yeah. There's the smaller developer, and if you just take a look who's in the marketplace that's doing that, these are folks that are substantial in size, right? And I just won't name names, but they're substantial in size. There isn't the like I used to do, 10 units, 20 units, 50 units, 100 units. They're doing, and you need a large cash position to pay for that 92, however the heck it was, $90,000. But I think what you're going to see happening, and you're a business guy, so you're pretty sharp about this. So production side of the house. By and far, they do not have escalation clauses in their contracts. So I'm writing a contract production, we'll leave names out of it. I'm writing a production contract for you to buy a house at whatever, $400,000, pick a number.
Sure.
Right? That's based on today's lumber's costs. They may project it a little bit out forward into it. So some of these larger production guys can buy lumber 30, 60, 90 days. They buy positions, right, going forward, going out. But if I'm not going to complete that unit for 6 months, I'm telling you, because I'm having these conversations, they're losing losing tens of thousands of dollars of closing. They're losing. Not making that less money, and it's a bit of a, look at this, I'm going to use another fancy word, a fallacy. I don't know what that word, so I just got myself into trouble with that one.
Judah?
Judah. Did I get in trouble with a fallacy?
Well, let's finish the sentence. What Judah say?
It's a fallacy that builders make this tremendous amount of money,
right.
and Neil, if he's still watching, can Google a little bit more. And the net that most builders make nationwide is somewhere between 4% and 6%
of the total cost.
Of the total cost.
Yeah.
Right. Take all the risk. So let's do the math here, folks. Right. If it's 4% on a $400,000 house,
talking $16K.
And they're losing.
And it takes a hell of a long time, and they're losing tens of thousands.
They're losing $35,000.
They're coming in the red big time.
And exactly right.
And that's why they're going to pump the brakes and put everything on ice.
When you do that.
Oh yeah.
Right? I
don't think I'd be putting myself in that position initially, but I hope not. Knock on fake IKEA, I'm not in that position. I mean, you're basically
saying. Speaking of that, when are we getting a new table?
Less than 4 weeks.
Good.
Yeah, we got a boardroom table.
Because I've got some big plans for that table.
I hope to God, maybe we surprise you and it's back when you get from vacation.
You almost said where I was going to go.
I know, I didn't say it. So more comments coming in.
But let me finish train of thought.
Yeah.
So
they can't sustain that model. Of 16,000 potential profit and losing tens of thousands at closing. That's not sustainable.
So material costs are cyclical, right? Been through this, done this.
Your buddy Jesse Rutherford's jumping in the mix.
Hey, buddy, how's it going, man? But the problem, the issue with that is that some of the big guys, they can weather the storm a little bit, but then it becomes an ROI problem, right? And do I stop and I slow this down? And it's a pretty tough row to hoe, because if you slow down too much and you lose your subcontractors, you never get them back. Not to get too much into the weeds on this. My concern is, some of the smaller folks that can't absorb that amount of money, right? Or, I have a contract with a custom builder that I've helped negotiate that there's this 5%, but if this anything over 5% becomes $30, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 and they don't have it, what's next, Coach?
Out of business. Close
well,
the
it's
company up.
It's a lot more.
File for bankruptcy. Lose.
No.
I mean, what's next, Coach?
I don't know.
You go become a librarian.
Oh, yeah, great.
Get out of being a developer. Jesse Rutherford's watching the program. Jesse Rutherford is a home builder himself.
He is. I'm curious what he has to say about
Jesse
this.
Rutherford says builders, developers are not making any money
That's exactly right.
this year, Keith.
They're losing money.
Yeah, are they all losing money, Jesse Rutherford? Let us know in the feed. Neil Williamson says interest rate changes will have a greater impact on housing sales, new and existing, than lumber or labor shortages.
He's right.
Neil Williamson, do you think the rates should go up?
Well, they will go up.
Okay, I'll change the question. Neil Williamson, when the rates go up, do you think that will stabilize the market some? I'm curious of Neil's take on that.
It will, because and that's what I was trying to explain to this young man. It's not just one thing. And Neil's right. You just can't say, it's interest rates. It's interest rates. It's cost of goods. It's over-regulation or unnecessary regulations on top of that stuff. Folks are staying in their houses double the period of time. We've got this huge influx of buyers that we've never, ever... This influx of buyers, based on the data I'm reading, is larger than what happened after World War II.
That's nuts.
It's larger than it happened after World War II. And Neil will probably correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. But, percentage-wise, it's larger than after the war.
Knowledge bombs left and right on the show. So more comments, Smith. Are you ready for this one?
I am.
Michelle made the show better today.
Who, Michelle made the show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
She says it's a great
I'm
time.
still not singing, Michelle.
Great time to sell, no doubt. But for me personally, I know I can sell my home and make $150,000.
But where am I going to go?
But the hesitation comes in that on the flip side, who wants to buy with prices so high? Many of us remember being upside down on our mortgages for a decade till the market rebounded. If I sold today, I would rent. So I did the same as most of my colleagues and friends, and I stayed put and I refinanced.
So that was good for you. Good for you. So that means you're staying in that house for 5 to 7 years.
For a much longer time, if she just refined.
If she refied, yeah. Well, it depends on how she did it, and there's specifics. So, but as a rule of thumb, it's going to take 3 to 5 years
to break even.
To break even, yeah. Unless she's going from like 8% to 3% or something.
Which I don't think Michelle would do that.
I'm sure.
She seems very, very sharp.
I'm sure of that. But the reality of it is, and that was the conversation I was trying to have about hedging the bets about inflation. So your rent's going to go up. So if you want to go through you may pay a little bit more now, and you have to kind of figure out, well, if I'm going to be in that house for X number of years, and we're doing a 3 to 4 to 5 to 6%, year-over-year increase, how does this math work out? It's a math problem at that point. And if you're getting in there at 3%, and Neil's 100% right, I got a slide in here somewhere.
Which number?
I've handed him over.
Which picture does it look like?
Pictures of
rock, red, color, fire,
food, shelter. I believe that they're projecting that by the end of 2022 we'll be close to 4%. So that's where the mortgage rate, and we're going to see this kind of work its way slowly up over time. But still, 4% is rock star. Rock star percentage.
Jesse Rutherford, it's a shame that we had the biggest demand in over a decade and get crushed because of cost of goods and labor shortage. This is making the conversation of affordable housing much more far-fetched. Jesse Rutherford, one of the small home builders, also...
He's not small. He's huge, man.
He's a big time.
I love
Jesse, you'll appreciate this. Your name came up last week. I'm in Arrington. Arrington's a part of Nelson County, for those who don't know. I'm visiting my buddy in Arrington. I mentioned on the show that Jesse Rutherford came on the program. My buddy, who is a homeowner and a proud Nelson County voter, taxpayer, and resident, his eyes lit up the size of Frisbees, you would think. And he said, that guy is amazing. He's doing great things for Nelson County, and he's beloved. That's literally what he said.
He's beloved. He's going to be my chairman next year at the commission, Planning District Commission.
Does he know that? Did you just find out right now on Real Talk?
No, I think he knows that. We was in a meeting. I think that happened. I'm pretty sure he's going to be my chairman next month.
So Brian watches the program all the time. He says, to Jesse's point...
I'm still the treasurer, by the way.
Brian says, to Jesse's point, is affordable housing a pipe dream?
I got to say no. Otherwise, all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours of work that I've put into it. Folks like Jesse, who's on my regional housing partnership, all these people that are really trying to do great work would be for naught. So my optimistic nature is no. Is it making it harder? Without a doubt.
That's what Jesse says.
Without a doubt.
Brian says,
without a doubt.
Brian just said, I think affordable housing is a talking point for politicians.
Well, I'm not a politician.
Right, you're not a politician. I don't think he meant you.
Yeah, I understand that.
It wasn't a lot of people's campaigns.
Yeah. Well, the campaigns are campaigns.
Right, campaigns are campaigns.
But then you got to actually do once you get elected.
Have they?
Well, I'll tell you, just to tout Jesse a little bit. He's done what he said he was going to do. So, in my opinion, he deserves another 4 years.
Oh, no doubt. My opinion too. I agree with that.
I just got to say that because he's the chairman, so now I got to be.
He's watching and hearing.
He knows he's watching and listening. I'll take that $100 later, Jesse. In cash, please. It's hard. It's what we've been talking about all the time, but.
So, he just said we had the biggest demand in over a decade in new home construction.
Sure.
But we as home builders get annihilated because of the cost of goods and the labor shortage. And this is why...
No. He's getting annihilated because of that. And the other thing, the regulatory requirements.
Well, the regulatory requirements have been a factor for an extended period of time. The labor shortage and the cost of goods increase with lumber specifically, that's tied to COVID.
Jesse's been in the business for
a long time.
He remembers how lumber prices and material prices are cyclical, right? And that so what'll happen, and I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day, what'll happen on that end of it'll hit and it'll end up coming down a little bit. It's kind of like fuel, right? Depending on how supply and demand comes. The problem with the real estate implosion, 2006, 7, whatever year you wish to pick that it started, stayed flat, which is it's part of why the units didn't get built, stayed flat for a half a decade or more before it started coming up. So material will change. Where he's 100% right, I think material will change much faster. The qualified worker, the skilled laborer, the carpenter, the plumber, the electrician, that's on this 5-year plus. That's the reason I talk about my little brother who's the doctor in Richmond.
He's a trim carpenter, right? High-end trim carpenter.
And I call him a doctor.
He calls him a doctor because the high-end trim carpenter makes as much money as the doctor.
By the way, we had family Mother's Day thing. He listens to us live.
On Real Talk? On the job?
On the job.
Does he like the show?
He loves the show.
Did he say that for real?
Oh, absolutely.
And he would say otherwise?
Oh, totally, yeah. We're pretty...
Oh, you're a New Yorker.
Yeah, we're
all
straight.
Is he like you?
Like me is different.
How old is he?
Let's put it this way. When I left the house at 18, he was 3 months old.
Okay.
So he's considerably younger than I am.
You're very fortunate to have your family in the area.
Yep, very lucky.
Jesse has more commentary. We're going to get to the comments on LinkedIn. We will get to the comments that are coming in via Twitter. And we're going to get to the comments that are coming in via direct message for the fans that are listening to the show via Bluetooth on Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Hold tight for those. I promise I'll mention them on air. Jesse says, make manufactured home parks great again. The American pathway to affordable homeownership for many decades post-World War II. Manufactured home parks.
Yeah, so he's talking about modular homes. And it's funny, I actually live in a modular home. I live in an 8-box custom modular home that I built in 2000, because in 2000 we had the same problem. I think Jesse was still in kindergarten or something at that point. But so I actually lived because I couldn't find carpenters. I owned a framing company at the time. Couldn't find carpenters. Couldn't find plumbers. Couldn't find electricians. So I actually ended up having a custom. And if I took you in my house. Not that that's going to happen, but if I took you into my house, you're always welcome. Into my house, you would know. You wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't know what?
That it was a module. You wouldn't know it.
Right. So what do you think? What do you think of his take about bringing back modular homes?
Well, I think you're going to see that because that helps stabilize some of the construction costs. That's the reason why we did it back in 2000, because we were having the same run-up that we're having now. Material costs, labor shortage, cost of construction was going up through the roof, and we were trying to figure out different ways to combat that as a small builder, small developer onto that. And we did that for quite a few units. But it'll help because they're produced in a climate-controlled. Just think about it, right? This house I live in was an what they call boxes, eight box unit, traveled from mid-Pennsylvania down the road. So they had to be built in such a way to travel down the road from a structural perspective, and literally there was nothing wrong with them once the boxes got set on that end of it. And they're produced in a climate-controlled thing. There's more production reliability and so forth and so on. So I think that might be a path, and I think Jesse's spot on to talk about that, in my opinion.
Interesting comment via LinkedIn. I'm going to get to the comment on LinkedIn here in a matter of moments. Before I do, Vanessa Parkhill. Historically, what percentage of the adult working population actually owns a home? Keith? If demand is higher than after World War II, are homes actually more affordable than we think?
So I'm not going to quote a number, and if Neil's still watching, he can probably dig this up pretty easily. There is NAR puts out a generational report, and it talks about what generations are buying and what generations are renting. It's about 70-something pages. We'll have to table that question for Friday. So Friday, to be honest with you, we don't have any guests on Friday. It's just going to be us again. So if we can keep that question in our back pocket, I will have stats to answer that question on Friday, if you don't mind.
Okay, so Vanessa Parkhill, he will give you that.
I just don't want to throw a number out there unless Neil at his fingertips can put it together.
So Vanessa also says that she had a friend, I knew a family who bought their house from a Sears catalog.
Oh, dude. 19 late 1800s, early 1900s.
Well, Amazon is in the business now of building homes. Amazon's in the business of building homes that you can find online.
Yeah.
That's weird.
This is very different than what the Sears thing is pretty interesting. A little factoid.
Yeah.
If you want to take a ride one day to a beautiful part of the state of Virginia, go to the Eastern Shore, the tip of the Delmarva Peninsula. On that, go over the Chesapeake Bridge and Tunnel. It's a beautiful ride. The town of Cape Charles has the most Sears kit houses of any town, existing, still built, up, constructed in the United States. And what they used to do is you could literally open up a Sears catalog and own the house. And what it did is it came down on rail car. And at the time, the town of Cape Charles is where all the CNO, where all the freight traffic from the eastern seaboard would come down to Cape Charles. They would get on ferries, go across the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, pick it back up in Norfolk, and keep on trucking down the eastern seaboard. So it was a railroad town, back in whatever year it was built, late 1800s, I suspect. But it has the largest concentration of Sears kids. Just Google it. It's a pretty neat thing.
So here's the cool thing about the show. Vanessa Parkhill, you had a question. We didn't want to answer without having the stats in front of us.
Sure.
We asked Neil if he could share
some
insight. He found an article. Now, the article's from 2015.
Do we have to put him on staff?
I love Neil.
Yeah,
the article's from 2015, Vanessa, and I tagged you in the comment thread so you can read it as well. But from this 2015 article that Free Enterprise Forum's Neil Williamson found, he says the United States has 86,985,872 homeowners as of 2012. This number represents 65.5% of the American housing market. The rate of owner-occupied residence has remained steady since the 60s. I'm going to give you that one again.
Up until that point.
Okay. The United States has, let's call it 87 million.
Okay.
87 million homeowners as of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
This number represents 65.5% of the American housing market, and the rate of owner-occupied residence has remained the same since 1960.
Yeah. So we'd have to take a look what happened from 12 to now, and I would suspect that percentage went up.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a stat in NAR that we can find.
Michelle says there's lots of Sears homes in Belmont.
That's true.
Lots of Sears homes in Belmont.
But
I
this,
didn't know that.
but yes, and they were traditional. I'll geek out a little bit on you. They were called 4x4s, right? Traditional square boxes, had 2 walls in the middle. That was your bearing. So it was 4 rooms over 4 rooms. My sister lived in one on Elliott. It was
James?
built in
Really?
built in 1902, I think, or 7. It was a pretty interesting story. My sister, God love her, Megan, bought her first house by herself as a single woman in 1999. I think she was in her early 20s.
Wow.
First house.
That's impressive.
That's a Smith thing.
Yeah? Did you have anything, did you offer some guidance?
A little bit.
Okay.
I said, what are you, crazy? No.
You didn't say
No,
that.
I didn't say that.
So this has come in via LinkedIn. We're live on every social media platform possible via LinkedIn. Jonathan says, Keith, what about high-end trailer parks or similar to solve this problem?
Well, I think
It's an
that's
interesting idea.
I think that's.
Is that kind of what Jesse was alluding to with the modular home?
I think that was kind of what Jesse was is doing that, and
He also adds, if this is an option, you can certainly put a lot more people in a tight area of land.
so it's interesting because you're seeing the pivot away from that, right? Historically, trailer parks have some sort of negative condensation, not condensation.
Connotation.
Connotation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm screwing
Sometimes
my.
they have negative condensation. Sometimes
It could be.
the
They
air,
could be. They
you
could
can't
not
find
have
equilibrium with the
Yeah,
temperature outside in the windows.
Yeah, I was close anyway. I had a C in it. But yeah, if you actually do a little bit of research, there are, particularly out west, I know we talk about the west often, but a lot of these things start from the west and go to east. That's exactly what they're doing out there, and they're doing these single box, 1,200 square foot, 2 bedrooms, 3. They're very tight, and they're tightly compacting them. So I think that's what the gentleman, I think that's who it was. Jonathan's
Yeah.
talking about
On LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you on doing that. So yeah, I mean, all these options have to be on the table. But look, the reality of it is, this seems like the overall conversation is we've got to figure out a way to increase the units or density, for lack of a better term. And these all are great ideas, and they do, not that we want to constantly be talking about affordable housing, but we should, right? All these things we're talking about are hurting that, right? And it's doing stuff that you talk about all the time. It's not diversifying our neighborhoods. We're not diversifying our
We're
community.
making it, Judah, homogenous.
Homogenous.
Homogenous community, right, Judah?
Isn't that milk? Can I if I could do the milk? Homogenize, that's it.
Vanessa Parkhill says, I will be sure to watch on Friday.
Thank you. I wrote a note, Vanessa. I will get homework for you to do it. This is the format that we're having today. We're just carrying over
This is fun.
Carrying over.
Mustache Dan Pettit, small, tiny modular homes being done with habitat on the other side of the mountain.
Yep.
And Mustache Dan Pettit says senior housing in tiny homes.
Yep.
And Jesse Rutherford.
Same for homeless in places like Minneapolis and so forth and so on that they're doing these little tiny home parks, for lack of a better term, or projects for homeless, particularly veterans.
Jesse Rutherford has shared the name of what initially I thought was like a male porn star, but perhaps you can offer some insight into this.
What,
Jesse
male?
Rutherford.
No.
Jesse Rutherford writes Randy Grumbine. Do you have any idea what that means?
I don't know, but we're going to move on.
Randy Grumbine. What does Randy Grumbine mean? What does Randy Grumbine mean?
It must be a Nelson County thing.
Jesse Rutherford? What does Randy Grumbine mean? 2004 was the peak at 69%. Neil, the home ownership rate in the United States amounted to 65.8% in 2020.
So
Home ownership rate in the United States.
So it upticked from 65 to 69? That's
Yeah,
what it is? Okay.
2020. So Vanessa Parkhill, and I'll tag you on this, Vanessa Parkhill, so you can read this. Free Enterprise Forums, Neil Williamson. The home ownership rate in the United States amounted to 65.8% in 2020. The home ownership rate is the portion of occupied households which are occupied by the owners.
So I think 65.5 was 2012.
Yeah. And 2004, the peak was 69%.
And what are we on 2020?
He just said it. 2020 was 65.8.
65. Got it.
Hey, I'm going to say, hey, Vanessa Parkhill, I think you will like this story. And I'll tag you. Today was a good show. Dude, it's 11:30.
I know that, but I've been doing this because I want to get out some new stats that I've been
Today's show is excellent.
been tracking. Do you want to save it for Friday or
no,
tackle
please.
it now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't. What do we got at 12:30? Who do you have at 12:30?
I have, you're going to like it. So I have the head of the Ivy Creek Foundation.
Oh, cool.
Sue Earhart, the executive director of the
Good.
Ivy Creek Foundation at 12:30, and then Alex Erpy at about 1:10. He joins us on Tuesdays to talk market dynamics.
I like Alex. Good man.
Yeah, me too.
So I've been tracking on the car footprint, which is Albemarle Charlotte.
Oh, so Jesse Rutherford says Randy Grumbine is not a male porn star. Sorry, Jesse. I had no idea who Randy Grumbine was.
Well, we're glad to hear that.
Yeah. Randy Grumbine, Jesse Rutherford, Manufactured Housing Executive Director for Virginia.
Oh.
It's Randy Grumbine. He runs VAMMHA, VAMHA. We can talk about the revitalization of trailer parks across the Commonwealth. So I'm going to tag
So
you
it
in
sounds.
It sounds like Jesse wants to come on the show.
Sounds like he just invited himself.
And you know what? We have no problem with that.
We have no problem.
We enjoy Jesse.
So what
on
we'll
the program.
do though is we'll make it a little bit more roundtable. We'll get somebody else. It's actually I was Greg Slater is going to fill in for me on the 25th.
Okay.
And I was.
You will be missed.
Thank you. I suggested to him to bring in two of his clients. One is a larger local builder. One is a smaller local builder.
Who are they? Can I ask? You want to say no? Want to pass them?
That's
Greg's call.
That's
Okay.
Greg's. It's Greg's show. Greg has authority to. I just don't want to say it's somebody and it turns out to be somebody else.
Gotcha.
But I made that suggestion to him to have this very conversation we're just having with two experts in the room. So
I would enjoy that.
yeah. So but when we get back, we'll get Jesse in and try to get somebody else in the small to medium builder world to try to have a little bit more of a detailed conversation about this. But I think at the end of the day, the takeaway from the show is this stat that Neil quoted: this $90,000 in additional cost per new construction
That's shocking.
over the year.
That is shocking.
That's not actually shocking to me.
I mean, for the average Joe.
Yeah, but
For the layman, I mean, you're in the game. That's why it's not shocking to you.
So even if you can shave 10% off of that,
Yeah.
that's 10 grand. That's
I mean, 10 grand, you're saying if a builder's margin is 4% on 400K, that's 16K. If you find a way to scoop up an extra 10K, that goes a long way to making some money on the project, as opposed to ending up in the red. And we'll close on this from Sarah Timberlake on Instagram. She says, gentlemen, fantastic show. Watch from start to finish.
Thank you.
I like the Batman and Robin routine.
There you go. Hold it.
I've
Hold it.
embraced the Robin.
With or without the Batman's and Robin spandex suits.
Do you have the Batman and Robin spandex suits that you can find and put on air?
Yeah,
Or
that's
do we want to stay away from
That's
that?
putting him on the spot.
No, I think he actually says it because he knows if anything goes wrong here at V&V Brands and I Love Seville, his first choice to figure things out in life is to blackmail the boss with the black Batman and Robin tights. So that's why he saves it. And frankly, I'm fearful that there are constantly microphones on around here. Can we get the Batman and Robin tights on? Is that on screen? Oh, no. The one of me and Keith.
That's the only one I've got right now.
Oh, that's the only one you got. Okay.
That's okay.
You would have to find it on I Love Seville, Judah, if that's where we would find it.
So we don't have time for this.
Yeah.
We'll tackle it on Friday. This will be our kickoff for Friday. Tracking the price changes in car.
Okay.
Right, and so I'm able to look at it at a day-by-day, 2 or 3 day windows. And just to put a quick thing to it, from our car footprint was Albemarle, Charlottesville, Flavanna, Nelson, and Louisa. There were 12 last 3 days, from 5:15 to the 17th at 9 o'clock in the morning. There was 12 price changes. 10 of them went down. So we're going to talk about that in great detail. Or maybe
On
not.
Friday.
Or we might talk about spandex.
More comments coming in, guys. We have.
So what are we
going
going to do? What are we going to do for October this year? What are we going to? We got to start putting our.
I mean, we better do something better than that. We set a pretty high standard.
So
I
are
mean,
you telling
what
me?
we
Are you
could do-
telling me I got to start working out? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, are you not riding the bike anymore?
I am. Yeah.
You are riding the bike, the stationary or outside?
Well, I haven't ridden it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Since
haven't enjoyed it.
I got surgery
On your foot.
on my foot a week ago. So
And you feel you feeling good about the fitness? Yeah. You'll get back to it. Weather's turning.
yeah, I've got this wedding thing coming up. And
Okay, you got to look good for the photos. The photos are forever. The photos will last longer than you on this planet.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm just saying.
Thanks.
The photos are forever.
As Yona would say, okay, Captain Obvious. I think you got to go, brother.
I do. I just enjoy your company.
It's like.
I know. This is like the longest show we ever done. It's supposed to end at
Well,
11:15.
though it's funny you should say that.
Why? The show continues.
No. This is important.
Okay. It's always important.
My freaking son-in-law, Harry Tyson. On Friday, you said this is the longest show ever.
Yeah.
I got a text from him. No, it's not.
Which one was the longest, Harry? Is Harry Tyson watching in
I
Connecticut?
don't know if he's watching or not.
Harry, let us know if you're watching somewhere in Connecticut.
But he called us out.
And he said, why isn't this the longest? The telethon? Is he saying the
Well,
telethon?
no. I said
Because
you
the
can't.
telethon, you can't compare it to the telethon.
So we went through this whole debate.
So he initially used the telethon as the longest show?
No, I said you can't. Got to remove that as because that really wasn't a show.
That wasn't a show.
That
It
wasn't
was a fundraiser.
But apparently, he said a couple of them we went till 11:45.
Okay. I mean, I believe him.
On Friday, we were awfully close to it.
That was with Williamson and Tubbs?
Yeah, we were off.
Well, that's because we enjoy Williamson and Tubbs.
Yeah, and we're going to get them to come in mid-June.
There we go. Judah Wickower, Keith Smith. This is Real Talk.
We got to
My name
go.
is Jerry Miller.
We
We do have to go.
We got work to do.
I do. I have a show at 12:30. If you guys need a trusted advisor, Keith and Yona Smith of the Yes Team Realtors and Yes Realty Partners will go to the wall for you. I've seen it firsthand. Keith and Yona
I
Smith.
got Quentin Beckham texting me, get the hell off the phone.
Sarah
get to
Hill
work."
Buczynski just gave us the heart. Said great show.
Yeah.
Sarah Hill Buczynski, I love you. Oh, Sarah Hill Buczynski.
Class act.
I got to say something to Sarah Hill Buczynski.
Yeah.
Saturday.
You're on your time,
I
brother,
know,
at this
I know.
point.
You'll appreciate this. This is like,
My time ended like a half an hour ago.
It only screws me. Sarah Hill Buczynski, I met your sister. Sarah Hill Buczynski, I met your sister at Saturday soccer at the middle school behind Albemarle High School. Fitz and your sister, me and my son Trey. I think her name is Maureen. She's awesome. She recognized me when I was wearing sunglasses and a mask. And she said, I recognize you
It's the hair.
from Real
It's-
Talk.
the hair
Your
is-
sister's awesome. Your nephew Fitz is great. You're fortunate to have your family in this area, Sarah Hill Buczynski. I really enjoyed your sister's company and Fitz and watching them play soccer.
I want to give you a shout out.
Oh, please.
Watching all the great food pictures that you've been doing lately. That's really great. So that means you're out and about again, which is great news.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
so I realize we have a lot of followers.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm trying to get we're going out, we're doing it safe. I know, we're doing it safe.
We're trying to make it the longest show.
Yeah, Harry. All I have to do is go 7 more minutes, Harry, and we got the
And then
record.
he quits.
And then Judah leaves. And then Liza's the director.
No, well, Liza's
the I Love Seville mascot. She's a rescue from Caring for Creatures. She's a pit bull lab mix, and she's probably the best dog in the world.
oh my God, yeah. I love her to death. But thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
It's not helping my waistline because every time I see it, I instantly get hungry. But
That's why I'm going an hour, 2 hours every day. Thank you, Michelle. She says, great
you're
show.
working an hour to 2 hours.
I mean, I probably, some kind of cardio at least an hour a day.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Michelle, thank you. Great informative show. I will be sure to tune in again.
Well,
That's all she wrote.
We'll post the
This was
Beatles,
fun.
My Michelle in there, so I don't have to sing.
You
it
should
for her.
friend request her.
Yeah, we'll do.
I just accepted it and sent her a friend request and she accepted. Judah, thank you. Keith, Jerry, Judah, Real Talk. We'll see you in the I Love Seville show with the executive director of the Ivy Creek Foundation.
That's gonna be a great show. You should watch
I think
it.
it would be a good show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
And then Alex Irby to talk what's going on in the market and on Wall Street today. You guys have a good morning.
Hey, Judah, thanks for your help, man, today.
Thank you, Judah. Great show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
My Michelle. I don't know the rest of the song.